Oh.
Oh, we're on YouTube as well.
Yeah, so you can wave at the world. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I
Hi.
Hi.
still haven't managed to find the link, the video from the last time. Wonder, anyone seen it? No.
Is it possible?
No, I haven't.
No.
No.
Let's see if I can find it on YouTube.
Yes. I'm trying to find it too.
Hi guys, this is Fabienne from Jamyang. I can answer that question because we recorded it, but we haven't shared it yet.
All
So
right.
this is our bad. It's just been a really intense week. So we have the intention of uploading it.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I don't know why I haven't. I don't know why they want you either. I hope they can't see.
Mike
Hi,
is
Jay.
Hi.
Go to there.
Hi.
See ya.
Beverly has a picture of
Ah, there we are. Shall I give everyone a wave? Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Where are we? Here we are.
Oh, Jamyang's joining. Hello, Jamyang.
These are all the people watching, huh?
Do you wanna?
Yes.
Wow, lots. More than 20, huh?
Should I take off the camera or leave it?
No. I want it to.
Okay. I got it. Perfect.
Who's that? Jay Simpson from Leeds.
Hey.
I don't know any of these people.
Nice.
Zoom. Well, we're just going to do it now. Are you all right though? All right, darling. Bye then. Bye.
Can you mute yourself, Annie? Annie Barbara?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
even
it's all right.
in yet.
No.
I'm not
Someone-
even in the thing.
Someone had a phone call, that was all.
Who? I'm not even joined yet.
Yes, you are.
You are.
Well, can't see anything.
We can all see you. Give us a wave.
Oh. Oh dear.
Curtains.
Yeah.
Thank you. Amen.
It's amazing to hear random noises in the background and trying to match the noise with the video.
Oh, what was that? I heard some random noise. I think it might have been Jay.
This must be my 4th Zoom meeting today. So I've got big clear eyes.
Spending the time wisely.
Yeah, all Dharma related. That's good.
Does anyone know, is this like a weekly thing?
It is,
Yes, it is. Yeah, this is week 2, but I'm not sure there's a theme that runs over them. So you haven't, you know,
Excuse me, how can I turn my picture off and yet see the picture in the background? No.
Are you on an iPad or a laptop?
iPad.
iPad. If you press the screen, you'll come up with some options at the top.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what is it that you want to see?
Well, I it's just that I always have my face in the corner, and I just wanted to get rid of my face and just see the background.
Oh, okay. So if you press that square, there should be a plus sign and a minus sign.
Wait a minute. Square.
There'll be the square with your face in it.
Oh, the square with my face in it?
Yeah.
There's a plus sign and a minus sign.
If you press the minus sign, it will disappear and you'll just end up with a circle with a video link in it.
Lovely. I did try that, but I wasn't convinced. I don't know. I didn't stay with it. Thank you. That's right. That's what I want.
And when you want to see everybody again, press that symbol and it'll come up with the
Hello.
hello. Venerable Robina has joined, but I'm trying to find her on here too.
Who's the boss? Who's the boss today?
It's Rona
Rona,
here.
there you are, darling. There you are, Rona. I'm
Yeah,
here.
but I'm just trying to find you because until I found your picture, I can't bring you into focus. Where are you? There, so I see you there. See you
there.
Right, Ron, Celeste, Cecilia, Annie, Barbara, there you are. Jenny, Linda, Afra, all you there. Amanda, wonderful, everybody. Good, Margaret, Ruth, Amanda, Christine. There's Jamyang London Buddhist Centre. Down, I can't see you.
there you are. Good.
There you go. Hi, darling. Wonderful to see you all.
You too.
Okay. Are we ready, Rona?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get you. Ah, there we are. Good. Yes, everyone should be seeing you now.
Oh, good. I better behave nice and not put my nose.
So
I think you can mute everybody, Rona. As
Yes,
a
I'm
co-host,
going
you can
to-
mute everybody.
Yes, I can do that. Yes.
Okay. Well, here we are for our fireside chat then. Fireside is it's warming up in Portland. I've got the door open and I've been one walk a week. I'm very lazy. I don't feel like my life has changed at all the suffering people out there. But I went for one walk 2 days ago, and it was a week before that I went to another walk. So anyway, I don't know about you people. So, okay. Apologies, my camera isn't working. Okay, that's fine. So we're ready. Are we ready, Rona?
Yes, yes.
All right, darling. Well, our little, as always, start with our little prayer, set us in the right direction. Our little prayer that all the lamas would say, state our motivation. We would say, what's our purpose? Why are we sitting here together? This, I've got 4 pages of you. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 100 people here. Why are we 100 people from all over the world? Maybe, mostly in London, perhaps in England, who knows? Jenpa, he doesn't look like he's in London. Jenpa Konchok, where are you from? You look like you're in Poland or something. Where are you from? Jenpa? Can't hear you, darling. Where are you from? Put your mic on. Oh. Have you blocked their mics, Rona?
Yeah, I'm just working on it.
Well, let people lock their own mic.
It's all right. There we are. Yeah.
Okay, so Jenpa, where are you?
Hi, Venerable. I'm in Boston.
Oh, Boston. I don't know why you're in Poland. You look like a Pole to me, but never mind. I'm happy you're there in Boston. And Laura and Catherine. So turn all your mics off. Then I can keep my mic on. Okay, Debbie. There you go, Debbie. Turn your mic off, Debbie. Nicole, Lars. There's Moya in Mexico, right? You in Mexico, Moya? Hello, darling. Okay, so I'll sing a little prayer, expressing always two things for those of us who always figure we're Buddhists. It reminds us about, it reiterates our reliance on the Buddha. Stating that every time strengthens that habit, you know. And there's Mika from, oh good, well done, from the Netherlands. Congratulations.
We're listening.
Huh? What happened? Turn your mic off, everybody. Turn your mic off, everybody.
I think.
Thanks. Oh. Laura, turn your mic off. Revital, turn your mic off. All turn your mics off. You'll have your
Just
little
going to do that.
red thing with a line across it. There you go. Last, your mic looks like it's on. Sorry, bossing you around. Unmuted by host. Good idea. Okay, so we'll sing our prayer. And the second two lines, this can be for all of us. This is the motivation business. This is stating the goal. So the lines say, actually, very grand, we're sitting here listening to these teachings so that we can become a Buddha, so we can benefit all. That's the long-term goal. But what it implies is we're listening so we can use these tools to help us develop our amazing potential so we can be a benefit to others. That's a more down-to-earth way of saying it, okay? All right. So I'll do the song, the prayer. Sangye charang soke chognam la jangcho baru dagni kyap suchi dagi chonyen gi personam ki drola penche sangye drupa shog sangye charang soke chognam la jangcho baru dagni kyap suchi dagi chonyen gi personam ki drola penche sangye drupa shog Sangye charang soke chognam la jangcho baru dagni kyap suchi dagi chonyen gi personam ki drola penche sangye drupa sho. So sing as a chat that I think I need to ask you if you'd like a particular thing you want to talk about. I'm happy to rave on. I'm very good at that. But why doesn't one of you say something particularly in your mind right now and we can talk about that? We'll start with that. Do you have any thoughts, Moya? No? Anybody? Go on, Keith. What do you want to say, Keith? Keith or Laura?
I just wanted to say on behalf of people in the UK, I missed it last week. 8 o'clock. No, I was here. I was here for the entire duration. What I missed was in the UK, we do a shout out for the NHS at the NH.
We did that. We did it.
Oh right, okay. I didn't go to my.
Moya joined it. Moya led it.
Oh okay, right, yeah. So will we pause at 8 o'clock tonight to?
Okay, we can do that, and that we can include because other people from other countries they do it in America too, and I'm sure they do it in Australia.
I live in a block of flats, so
okay.
There should be a, sort of, if I unmute the mic, I can share.
I can do it on outside. Good idea, Nora.
Yeah. So what we actually did, rather than standing out and applauding, is we did a small guided meditation where we sent everyone good vibes, didn't we, Venerable?
We did a medicine Buddha one. We did a medicine Buddha. That's great, Laura. Okay, so anybody got any ideas what you want me to talk about? Start the ball rolling with conversation at the beginning of the teaching, not at the end. Any thoughts?
Uncertainty.
Who's that?
That's Claire. Claire from England.
Uncertainty. So you mean things changing?
Yes, things changing and not as we've expected.
Yeah,
we just don't know what's going to happen, do we? Lots of people don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, that's really obvious, isn't it? That's one of, I mean, that comes into Buddha's first teaching. He kind of goes, okay, you people, guess what? Things change. So in Buddhism, it's kind of interesting. There's really, in the literature, there's really extensive, you know, teachings from the Buddha about this fairly evident reality, you know. So they talk about gross impermanence. Then they also talk about what? How can I be?
Oh, you were muted for a while.
I didn't get it. So, okay, we'll start again.
Yep.
So impermanence, this is one of Buddha's main teachings, you know. It's like from the very beginning, one of his first teachings. And so, but the bigger picture here, just for a second. So who was it who asked me that? Who was it? I forget who said that to me. Who was that?
Claire Rutiliago.
Claire. Yeah, okay, darling, good. So Claire's point, it's a really obvious one, but let's give a background just for a minute. I don't want to try and be too intellectual about it, but let's look at the background to why Buddha would even tell us that things are impermanent. And that obviously, so then Claire's simple point, you know, as exactly what she said, when she said uncertainty, and then I said, oh, that things, she said, yes, that things change and become what we don't want. That's the point, isn't it, Claire? I mean, if things change for the better, you're not going to ask about it, are you? That's a really interesting point, isn't it? So we've got to look, in other words, what we ought to look at. The question is, how do we deal with uncertainty? Well, what I'm going to do, and what I do all the time, is let's look at what it is in our mind that makes a mistake. And in this case, what is it in our mind that makes us assume that things shouldn't change, Claire? Are you seeing my point? It's fine to talk about how do you deal with change, but I think we've got to look at the basic point, and that's where Buddha's coming from. Basically, one way of presenting all of Buddha's teachings is in terms of his presenting what he has found to be how things are. And this is his very first point. He says, guess what, folks? I have observed, and this is what about time you better start observing it, is that everything in its nature, being the product of cause and effect, changes moment by moment. So then he is, by telling us this is how things are, then immediately what we should do is question, well, if this is natural, why do I get, what makes me fear it? What makes me unhappy? Why do I get upset when things change for the worse? And that's the thing we have to look at. So that's another assumption. So first of all, we do get upset when things change for the worse. We do not get upset when things change for the better. In other words, if suddenly your bank account empties out, we're going to get shocked. But if our bank account doubles, we'll get shocked, but we'll be very happy. And we won't say, why do things change? We won't care. So, do you see my point, Claire? It's a really powerful point. So what underpins, and every time it's like the same discussion, what in our mind the Buddha's saying is underpinning this response to when bad things happen, when things change, and we don't expect it. That's the point. I mean, if we kind of know, but we already know, like say you go to the doctor and he says you've got cancer and you'll be dead in 6 months, you get some warning, you know, but then still look at the shock. Look at the shock we get. So we think, oh my God, I'm suffering because of all the drama in the world. We think, oh my God, I'm suffering because I've got cancer. But no, the Buddha says, no, it's more subtle than that. We are suffering because we have an assumption that things shouldn't change. This is the interesting point. And this is where we really start to dig deep into our minds to really get to the root of the problem. It's fine to deal with how things happen how to deal with how things change. But the real answer to it, Claire, is by observing why are we surprised that things change? So we've got to learn to stop being surprised. I mean, that's the real answer. That's the real answer. We've got to stop by being surprised, because being surprised that things change tells us clearly that in our mind there's a deep craving for things not to change. We want things to be, and that what it really means is we want things to be the way we want them to be, which is almost the way you answered, which is really true. And Buddha says, guess what, folks? This is why we suffer. This is the way he talks, you know, the way he says, one way of saying what Buddhism is, it's a presentation of what he says based on his observation of how things exist. That's it. So impermanence is how things exist. Things are the product of cause and effect. That's how things exist. So we all know his bigger picture, especially karma. And that's we want to go into that discussion here, which is unique to the Buddha, that he's got his own explanation of why things change. So why is it all of a sudden we're experiencing suffering? Or why is it all of a sudden you're going to experience happiness, which is also change? So then we've got to look at these assumptions in our mind. That's the fundamental practice, to change the assumptions, you know. So that one direct I mean, in other words, somebody might have a big fear about dying, especially now. And it's very, on one sense, it's completely valid. Look at the people dying. I mean, the numbers every day, everywhere. Some countries less. Some countries shocking, you know. And it's very, and we're all seeing it every single day, 20, 30 times a day on our iPad, on our phone, on our computer, on our television. It's bombarding us, you know. I mean, even 50 years ago, it would have taken time to hear the news. But these days, it's just bombarding us every second. So, of course, all of that completely buys into our primordial fears. And this is what, so we've really trying to, so, you know, so let's just say someone says you could get, you know, or even, you know, you could get COVID-19 and you start to have fear. Oh my God, I could die. Now, the thing is, so then we say, what will I do? How will I cope with this fear of death? Well, one of our first responses is, well, it's okay. It doesn't mean you will die. But maybe a more powerful response, a more direct response, well, guess what, Claire? You will die. It mightn't be today, it mightn't be tomorrow, it mightn't be 20 years, but the really powerful point that totally puts an atomic bomb on all the fears is, let's face it, it will happen. And this is all we know. This is why it's so fascinating. When we look at Atisha, this 11th century great yogi who came to India, and he started presenting all these teachings of the Buddha in a very down-to-earth practical way, not in a theoretical philosophical way, but in a way that touches our hearts. So he presents at the very beginning of his presentation of all the Buddha's teachings, this teaching about impermanence, which is a fundamental, obvious one, but he gets it in specifically in the framework of the fact of death. So of course it scares the life out of us. Even the word death we do not like, you know. It really triggers the natural fears we all have within us. Of course, so we have to look into that fear, not just, you know, what we tend to think is, well, it's natural to have fear. And what I think is very fascinating, when we say, oh, it's natural to be fearful, you see, I think in our culture, what we mean by that is natural means you're a normal person. And if you didn't have fear, you'd be really weird. So we factor in fear as a natural part of an ordinary person. So if you do that, you take it as a given. But the Buddha's more radical. He says, of course, it's natural. We've all got it. But guess what, people? You've got fear because your mind is full of all these different misconceptions that are very ancient. They're ancient to the point of being completely instinctive. And exactly that's what fear is. It's deeply instinctive. Then he says, that's why we suffer. We don't suffer because we might die. We don't suffer because there's COVID-19. We don't suffer because things change. We suffer because we think they shouldn't. This is the really point. This is the point that hits it on the head, that hits the nail on the head. And this is the exact way we have to, if we're trying to use Buddhism, that's up to us. We don't have to. So Buddha's saying, yes, of course, fear is normal. Attachment is normal. Anger is normal. Anxiety is normal. But he says, guess what, folks? You can learn to get rid of them. That's the essence of the approach of Buddha. It's almost too simple to hear it, but it's very, very shocking, you know. This is very shocking to hear this. So what's the practice? So of course, then we think, oh, that's wonderful, I can get rid of fear. And then you try the method, and the next day you say, oh, I tried it, I've still got fear. Well, you know, it takes a bit of work, please. It's like saying, you know, I hear people say even, oh, I tried to meditate yesterday, and it didn't work. I mean, that's so bizarre, you can't believe it. That's like saying, you know, oh, well, I tried to get fit at the gym yesterday, and I came home, and I'm still 50 kilos overweight. Excuse me, it takes time. That's the real point. And this points to another part of us, you know, which is what, because we can't bear the fear, we can't bear the anxiety, we can't bear things changing when they're bad, we can't bear all the unhappy things happening. And of course, we want them desperately to go away. So then we hear about Buddhism, we hear, oh, meditation works. And then we sort of think it's an alternative to a pill. And we try to do it with an expectation that all magic will all happen overnight. But that just increases more fear because it's absurd to think this way. You know, it's utterly absurd. So often, I say this a lot, but it's really true. We try to point out, so Claire's question, perfect, you know, perfect. How do you deal with uncertainty? So the first point I'm making is, let's look at why we even are surprised that things change. And that's kind of getting the more subtle level. So let's look at the simple level. How do we deal with uncertainty? Well, as I'm saying here, the most direct, blatant response to it, Claire, is recognize that uncertainty is normal. recognize it's normal, and learn to get used to that. In other words, deal with it. I mean, if you're suddenly walking out on a sunny day and you don't see any evidence of clouds coming, and therefore you don't have your umbrella and you don't have your raincoat on, it's fairly obvious if the rain suddenly comes out of nowhere and you accept that it's changed. You don't sit there in your summer dress and get wet. You try and get some cover. So you be practical. So if here we've got fear about getting sick, well, this is why we have to have our masks on, why we have to keep 6 feet distant, why we have to sort of, do those types of things. So be practical. If it suddenly starts raining out of the blue on a sunny day and you're not prepared, well, rush under a tree, rush under a building, rush home. You don't sit there and accept it and go, oh, well, things change, I'll get wet. That's nihilism. So be practical. So the first answer to your question is, well, be practical. Take the advice of the experts in this particular scenario, and meanwhile, observe the mind, observe how we get nervous and observe how we don't want this to happen, but then learn to greet it by going, even if we just say, well, this is normal, this is what happens, why am I surprised? Already questioning that fear puts an atomic bomb under it. It's very powerful, actually. I mean, that's one tiny response, So, of course, if the fear is so bad and you're having a panic attack and you're hyperventilating, then you just have to find someone to give you a hug and support you. I mean, we've got to do what's reasonable in each scenario, but the fundamental point is, don't take it as a given that change is wrong. Change shouldn't happen. That's the big mistake. That increases your fear. Change is normal. Change is normal. That's a very powerful answer. Do you see what I'm saying, Claire? And that calms the mind down. Because if we keep saying change is wrong, that becomes anger, and then you increase your suffering, and then you're just never ending. You're never ending, You're bashing your head against a brick wall. So the day-to-day application of this approach is the broad answer, Claire. That's it, And meanwhile, be nervous. And this is a part of the approach too. Until we're highly advanced as practitioners, we're going to have the fear. We're going to have the anxiety. Until we're highly advanced, we're still going to have it. So meanwhile, recognize where it's coming from, understand the analysis of it, and talk yourself through it. Get support wherever you can. Be practical and learn to live with it. So even while you're trying to get the umbrella and while you're trying to get it from underneath the rain, you've got to learn to live with the rain. There's no point in cursing the rain. You're trying to get yourself protected from it. That's good, but don't curse the rain. It won't help. You get my point here. And even learn to love the rain. And that really helps. Then you can laugh. But as soon as we resist the thing, then we get crazy and we go and get angry. And that's what anger is. And that really causes us suffering. So this is a brave attitude. The rain suddenly comes out of the blue. It's a simple analogy. You're in the sun, it's all lovely, having a lovely walk, and all of a sudden out of the blue. And so then what we do is, how dare it rain? It should not rain. This is wrong. I'm not ready. I've only got a summer dress on. No, welcome it. Greet it. Stop arguing. Welcome. Didn't know it was coming. Oh my God, I better get prepared. Meanwhile, learn to live with the rain. You keep your mind calm and steady, and then you can make wise decisions. But if you start getting angry and freaking out and resisting it, which is what we do, then fear takes over and you can't make any intelligent decisions. This is a really practical approach to so much of our lives. Do you understand, Claire? But it takes practice. Like all these things, it takes practice. But this is the broad answer, darling. And then the voice. What? Who's that? Who's talking? Who was that? Amanda, what did you say? Were you about to talk, Amanda?
No, sorry about that.
Okay.
I just joined the meeting.
Okay, darling. Good. Welcome to you. So turn your mic off, Amanda. That's good. Happy to know you're here. So do people understand what I'm saying? Hello, Masha, you're there too. Well done, Cyprian. Okay, so come on, more questions then. This is a chat, so I have more questions.
Can I just raise one thing?
Absolutely. Who's talking?
So-called extra time when a lot of people are saying,
talk to me.
Yeah. This sort of, I was going to say so-called extra time when so many people are saying they've got extra time. I feel like you're just as busy as ever, but I'm trying to sort of use it wisely. I'm going back to the NHS remotely because
wonderful. Yes,
I'm sort of 12 weeks in my flat on my own, basically, but I'm trying to meditate, exercise, go back to work, clear up all the backlog in my life,
there you go.
And all the but I can, okay, that's all sort of great, good motivations, but I'm feeling myself rebelling against the discipline. Rebelling against the discipline of it. There's a side of me that just wants to sort of that is finding, instead of finding it positive. I'm finding it a bit disciplined. And,
what's your question, Debbie, then? What's the point?
How can I approach this discipline? I'm sure it's a misconception. I
think it sounds wonderful. I can't see why. I mean, I can't see anything to fault. I mean, you're doing a beautiful job. I can't see anything.
I'm sort of feeling myself rebel against so much discipline inside me. I'm sort of thinking, oh, you know, I want to break loose a bit, you know, but maybe that's.
I know what you're saying, so I've got to, you know, got to analyze it. Is it sensible? Then relax. And if it's not sensible, keep going. I mean, I would suggest it's just being dissatisfied. You're doing a really good job, it seems to me. I don't know why you should complain about what you do. I mean, I repeat my answer. I think something in you is rebelling, as you put it, but you're the boss. You're the boss. You can change your way, but it seems to me you're doing a really good job. Going back to the NIH is amazing, helping people. That's a major one. That should bring great satisfaction.
I'm not complaining about doing that because I feel I need to. There's no question in my mind.
Right. Well, I don't think you've got a problem, Debbie. That's all I can say.
just go with it a bit, accept it.
Go with it, darling. Exactly, darling. Exactly.
Don't feel as if there's too much discipline.
No. Come on, relax. You're doing great. What else, people? Anybody else? Points to bring up? Come on. What about we can also talk about the compassion one. You know, there's as we've talking, there's the wisdom wing and the compassion wing. Okay. Hello, Afisha, you're there. What, darling? Who's talking here?
Qué bueno con esto.
Where are you? Who's talking? Who's talking to me? I can't hear you. Okay.
It wasn't.
Hi, Afisha. Did you have a question, darling?
I do have a question. I guess it's in line with what you're going to talk about. I'm trying to figure out, how do I balance compassion with wisdom right now? For example, at our school, we do food. So we give out food to the families, but we're being advised.
She's in Baltimore. Afisha's in Baltimore. She runs a school there.
So we're being advised to stay at home. But I have a letter so I can go and hand this food out, but I need help to hand the food out.
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out, I want to be compassionate and I want to go and hand the food out, but at the same time, I need help. I don't want to force people to come and help me or ask. And then I'm concerned because, you know, Stephen, my husband, who's at home, he's diabetic. So he has these underlying preconditions.
That's right.
So I'm just trying to figure out, how do I get to go out and hand the food out and support the people who need it, knowing that I might be bringing home a virus to someone.
I mean, this is a really powerful point right now. Thank you, Afisha. I mean, this is where when you read, I mean, Debbie would know about this from being around the NHS. I mean, every single country we're reading about the unbelievable suffering of people in the ICU, in all the hospitals. And literally, the front line, even yesterday, there was an article in the New York Times, the fire department people said, I go into the hospitals and all the nurses and doctors there have got shoes, booties on, they've got things, they've got masks. Said, we have nothing. And said, many of her colleagues are dying, you know? So, I mean, this is happening every single place. So really, and this kind of situation is a really classic one of how much wisdom can we use to have how much compassion? And it's not an easy answer. And it's so vivid now when people literally are getting sick and losing their lives by being compassionate. It's really very intense. It's not just an intellectual concept. It's pretty real right now. So all you can say is, I don't know, it's very powerful. There you are. I mean, you know, all you can do is take as much discipline, be as disciplined as you can in really protecting yourself. And you really made this is where we have to take responsibility, Afisha. If some of us, you know, if we feel not brave enough to do it, we have to recognize we're not brave enough to do it. Don't beat ourselves up. We have to know. But whatever decision we make, it's got to be a decision based on integrity, not, oh, it's not my fault, I can't help it. Because often we say that because we feel guilty and we try to kind of get ourselves off the hook from doing something to help somebody else when it could endanger ourselves. So on the one hand, don't be foolish and rush out like a martyr, which is often what happens. People go and then become nihilistic and think, well, whatever happens, happens. That's being nihilistic. And on the other hand, don't be completely self-centered and just stay at home and moan and complain about all this. You've got to make a wise decision, Afisha, based on intelligence, based upon what you know you can do, based on your own scenario with your husband who's already got got sickness. You've got to make a decision and to do it wisely and intelligently. Now, the thing is, you know, it's the other approach you'd say with the Buddhist approach, let's say you're a bodhisattva. They would also, I mean, His Holiness is in lockdown. Lama Zopa's in lockdown. Okay, their attendants are probably forcing them to be in lockdown, but a person who's a bodhisattva who's got genuine compassion with no ego, they would be really like, they would not even consider their own danger. That's the whole point. When you read the literature about the amazing behavior of bodhisattvas, I mean, that's like, it's uncharted territory for us. We can't imagine being like that. They just sound plain foolish. But nevertheless, at least if we look into our mind, know where we are at in our own capability, observe our own conditions at the moment, our own health, our own likelihood of getting it or whatever, because it's so uncertain, babies are dying from it now, then you just have to do your best with a really pure heart. But let me just add a few Buddhist components here, and not trying to be all kind of holy about it. But you know, as the Buddhist approach, the Buddhist analysis very clearly, as we know if we're Buddhist, is it's not merely the physical. Who is it? Laura, can you turn your mic off, darling?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. So the thing is, the Buddhist approach, let's talk about karma then. And this is often a big picture one, and it often is very fearful for us, and it seems a bit mystical. But the point is this. The point, we can see this. It seems, on the face of it, it seems fairly arbitrary who gets sick and who dies, doesn't it? I mean, if you add up if you look at all the external conditions, and initially it was old people who've got preconditions, and suddenly we're finding healthy young babies are dying, healthy sportsmen are dying. So it's very clear we can't pin down with just taking the physical explanation. We can't pin down the exact causes. I think you'll all understand what I'm saying. So let's look at the Buddhist approach, and this is really helpful to look at it in this case. Look at the extra component that Buddha adds into it, which is this whole business of karma. This is really helpful if we're trying to be Buddhist. It's really good to analyze this as an explanation of things, you know. So this is where you use examples. Like, you know, I always use that example of Warren Buffett. There he is, getting close to 90. And his daughter, I remember read his biography, this famous businessman. I read his biography, and in there, his daughter said something like, "I've never seen water pass his lips." Now, normally we know anybody who wants reasonable health, we know you've got to eat this and don't eat that and drink lots of water, blah, blah, blah. That seems to be, and so the logic we use in the materialist world is if you do that, you will stay healthy. Or if you don't do this, you will get sick. Or if you do this, you will get sick. Well, we're seeing right now with something as clear as a coronavirus, that as many things as we can label exactly this and this and this, you can still get sick. And people who don't have protection, people probably in those hospitals with zero protection, will not die. So this doesn't add up when we only take the physical experience. When we only take the physical things as the explanation. And this is where we have to factor in karma. So Warren Buffett, there he is, 90, and not only has he never seen water pass his lips, he even talks in his book about how he's got his very simple eating habits. He's close to 90. His food since he is a boy, unfailingly, his meals consist of cheeseburgers, some flavored Coca-Cola, and vanilla ice cream. Now, on the face of it, from the point of view of health, the man should be dead. But he ain't dead, he's 90. So we've got to go, well, that's interesting. Why, on the one hand, I remember that famous diet. Who was it? Atkins, one fellow.
Atkins.
Some fellow, whoever it was, he was the main guy for this. He was super fit, living on his diet, and he died of a heart attack. So we can have the extreme examples of a 90-year-old person living on junk food and smoking cigarettes is still healthy. And we can have a brand new child or a person who's healthy and they die. So this is not answered by looking at the medical thing. It's not answered by looking at the physical conditions only. So this is a perfect example then to look at the Buddhist explanation. And this is not meant to be just some kind of belief thing. As we know, it's Buddha's own observation about the nature of the universe. Now, if we're not Buddhists and we don't know anything about this, no one's asking you to believe it, but we're giving Buddha's analysis here. And if we are Buddhists, then this is where, you know, to you, Afisha, we've got to factor this in as well, you know. So the Buddha's explanation, the main cause of sickness isn't, and this is not trying to be shocking, this is a very literal technical explanation of the Buddhist philosophical view of the universe. And again, I think we had this discussion with Debbie. This is not, I mean, maybe it's fairly new to some of us. We don't have to, this is nothing we have to be forced to believe. This is Buddha's analysis. The main cause of whatever happens to us, whether it's health or illness, whether it's happiness or suffering, the main cause, as far as the big picture worldview of the Buddha's analysis, is actions we've done in the past that have left imprints in our consciousness, which has existed in the past, which then comes into this life, programmed with our past tendencies. And then we live out our experiences in this life, which are crucially, centrally, the result of the causes that we created. The secondary causes, the secondary causes are the things that happen now, the contact with a person with a disease, etc., etc., etc. Now, this is shocking if we're materialists. This seems complete superstition. It seems like religion, and it seems shocking to us, you know. But if we're trying to be Buddhist, and this is Afisha because she's a Buddha, devoted Buddhist, then we have to factor this part in as well. So given that you've got to you know, you look at your external conditions, and then you look into your mind, and you're trying to be a compassionate person and go out and help people with food, which is an incredible action to do, then you factor this in, and you make strong aspirations, and you do your practice every day, and you do your purification practice every day, and you understand this, and then within this you act out of compassion but using your wisdom as well, and then, you know, you trust that you have the merit. I mean, this is it, you know. And then we can go into karma in more depth. We did this a little bit, I think. Maybe we didn't do it last week, but it's a very powerful point for a person who's a Buddhist, which doesn't mean you become nihilistic and go, oh well, if I've got the karma to die, I'll die. That's nihilism. No. So do you understand? So we factor in these different explanations, which informs our decisions. It informs our decisions. So you weigh it up and always aspire to do what's most beneficial. Don't expect other people to help you. You might need it, but you can't force other people. And with a good heart and a pure motivation, while being wise, you go out there and you benefit others and be very blissed out for yourself, like Debbie as well, helping other people. What happened here? I've got someone's computer screen.
Oh, someone shared something. I don't know. Oh, there, it's gone away now.
Here we go. I'll go back to the big picture. Here I go.
Yeah.
Okay. So are we communicating, Afisha? Put your mic on. Put your mic on, darling. Click your mic, Afisha. Click your microphone. Afisha. I'm not muted. Afisha, can you hear me? Nod. Okay, I can't hear you. You've got to put your microphone off. Unmute your mic, Afisha. She can't. Rona, can you unmute her mic, please?
I'll try.
Afisha.
Yep. Now I'm unmuted. She needed to unmute me. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So keep them unmuted. Keep them unmuted, Rona, and people can do their own.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. So okay. So so every time you stop talking, each person can mute your mic again. So mute your mic, Claire. Okay. So Chrissy, you got your mic unmuted as well.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing Rona's job. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. So Laura Cavina. Laura Cavina has a question now.
Oh, Laura, talk to me, darling.
But she's muted herself.
Okay, she wants to speak, or she wants to speak it. You got it in a note.
No, she's put her hand up. But
speak then, darling. Speak.
Laura, there you go.
Okay, lovely. Can you hear me now?
Good. Talk to me, Laura. Yes, go.
So my question was around fear and around karma, and I suppose that the thing that is happening to me is that, as well as obviously being scared of death, I'm actually probably even more scared of rebirth. And I'm reading the. I'm reading the 12.
What do you mean, Laura? What are you scared of?
I mean, I suppose I'm scared of an unskillful rebirth, and
there you go. Get it.
And you know, I was reading that your mind state at the time of death really is very important, and I'm reading the 12 links of dependent origination, trying to make sense of them, but I'm finding it so hard. So I wonder whether part of our discussion today could be.
Oh, darling, why not, Laura? Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you know, it's very interesting. When I was working on Lama Zopa Rinpoche's book about how to help at the time of death, that was back in 12, 13, 14. This now came out in 16. And we've now got another version coming out, which is coming out this year, and it's as a paperback, and it's really going to be so helpful. It was really powerful for me to because there you are dealing with the death process, what happens to the 12 links, what happens to the 8 stages of death at the time of death, the way rebirth happens. It's all very technical. So naturally, in a way, because it's all brand new information for us, it can be quite scary and can be quite shocking. But the point is that you see that this is where, if we've kind of, I've been a Catholic, some of us have maybe been Christians, some of us might still be Christians, and that's fine. Some of us might have the Muslim view, whatever it is. But the real point I'm getting at is here, if we've got the view of, say, having faith in God, then clearly we have this very powerful, if we're doing it properly, faith in this person. And you know that God, if you're close to God, God is the boss. So God will take care of you. God will look after you. God will reward you. This is a very powerful point, and I'm not being sarcastic. It's actually true. That's the view. And then and if you're not, then God punishes you. So the point is, in Buddhism, this is the point about karma. There is no view like that. Buddha does not assert a creator. He would argue with that philosophical view. He's not being rude. He says that we ourselves are in charge of the process. Now, this is a very shocking idea. Whoever thought they were in charge? We do not think so. I mean, there is no view. If we're a Christian, we really believe God made us and put the soul in the egg and sperm at the time of conception. If we are philosophical materialists, we really believe that mummy and daddy created me. And I think in either case, think about it, in either case, we began in our mother's womb, and it's not being sarcastic, and it's not even being a joke, and we definitely did not play any role in deciding who we are. That's so obvious, it's like a joke, isn't it? Of course we didn't, as we say, I didn't ask to get born. We say that, but we mean it very sincerely. Well, Buddha says, sorry guys, you did. So it's a bit shocking what Buddha's saying, but it's a revelation if we can use it properly. So the point is this, if it's true then, Buddha's view, Laura, your consciousness came into this, the egg and sperm of your mummy and daddy at the time of conception, fully programmed, honey child, with your tendencies, with all the karmic seeds that you planted that are now proceeding to ripen in 4 different ways. Well, the first way that your karma from the past ripened, and this was triggered even before you stopped breathing, 6 weeks before that, 7 weeks before that, when you were going past in the death process of the previous life, we could have to deduce that you must have been fairly peaceful, and that would logically have triggered a virtuous karmic seed of yours from your past killing, practice in the framework of keeping vows of non-killing, as Lama Zopa says. That karmic seed, like a miracle, was triggered. And even before you stopped breathing in the past life, 7 or so weeks before you came to this new mummy's womb, that virtuous seed was triggered, and you were already programmed to go to Laura's mummy a few weeks later when she hopped into bed with your daddy. So that was the first karmic seed that was triggered. Now, the other 3 sets of karmic seeds, which are what produce the entire person, would also have been triggered at that time. The next one would have been all the seeds that would produce your personality. Since when you're conceived, you've got these personality traits. You're good at music, good at loving, good at kind, good at being angry, good at killing, good at football, whatever it might be, your actual own personality traits. This is the crucial point that Buddha's making. They are not from your mother and father. Your mother and father might share them, but yours come from your past practice of those very habits. And those seeds for those habits were triggered at the time of your past death. The next set of seeds that are triggered is called the experiences similar to the cause. And all of those experiences are what are now playing out in your life in relation to other sentient beings. Since you were born up to now, you've got intense relationships with the outside world, with people and rats and cockroaches and humans, and some harm you and some help you. They are all called your experiences similar to causes that you created, like that, to those sentient beings. Karma's personal, honey. They're called experiences similar to the cause. The fourth lot are even the way the very physical world impacts upon us. So then if you take this view, then, that's why they all the time use the analogy of seeds and fruits. Well, it's a great analogy. Your life, Laura, is your garden. Whatever is in your garden, whatever pops up in your garden since you were born, whatever pops up in your garden, guess what? you created it. It's your weeds and it's your flowers. So now the more we take on this view of accountability, as His Holiness and Dalai Lama says, you can almost say that law of karma is self-creation. And it's so fundamentally different from the materialist philosophical view. It's fundamentally different in many ways from the Christian view. I mean, it's quite a radical concept that our consciousness goes back and back and back, that whatever we think and do and say programs us and sows seeds, and whatever we're experiencing is the fruit of those seeds. So we look around our own life and you go, wow, this is my garden. Whereas we feel, how dare these bad things happen to me? I don't deserve this. And we greedily grasp at the good things, assuming we deserve them. This is a really superstitious view for the Buddha. Everything is our own karmic appearance, as Lama Zopa says. So the more we realize this, then we gradually take responsibility. We become accountable. We begin to own our experiences. So then we know that whatever's happening is the fruit of what I've done. Then we start to realize, like with your garden, and you learn Buddha's botany, you know the suffering you don't want. You know the stuff that happens to you now. I don't want this. Do I want it in the future? No, thank you. You look in your garden. Do I see all these weeds? Yes. Do I like them? No. So then what am I going to do? Well, I better pull the weeds out and stop growing more weeds. So then if we really understood the law of botany, and this is the point I'm making here finally, when we really have confidence that there is this natural law of botany, you don't have a panic attack every day about what might grow in your garden. Like your garden of the future is your future life. So you don't have a panic attack of what will be in your garden in the future life in 20 years' time. You know that what will be in your garden in 20 years is what you plant now. So you take responsibility. And then when you have this confidence in this natural law, then you relax and karma takes care, as Lama Yeshe says. So how about that as an approach, Laura? She's collapsed with horror. I can't see her, but she hasn't got a mic band on. Laura, talk to me.
The mic's off at the moment.
I know. Laura, you're there, darling. Laura. Okay, she's not answering.
Yes, no, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry,
okay.
I couldn't unmute myself. Yeah.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Thank you.
So it's just all it is, darling, is because you see why. This is the other point too, like I was talking before to Claire. We've got to look at the quest at the what if what Buddha is saying is true, and then we look at what we think, we can see there's this massive disconnect between what we think now and what he says is true. So it's up to us, if we choose to be Buddhist, to familiarize ourselves with what Buddha is saying is true. And the more you familiarize yourself with the details, not just the general thing, oh, it's karma. Of course, you're going to get afraid. You can't just go every day, oh, it's botany. You've got to learn the nuts and bolts of botany. Then when you're in charge of the process, there won't be fear.
Thank you.
You get my point, darling?
Yeah.
Now we've got a question from Gabby M.
Okay, good. Laura's there. Just to say, sorry. Laura, this is the point, Laura, too, darling. Whether it's good or bad stuff that happens, what comes is this courage. This is adding on to what Claire was saying. With this view, when we don't realize now, but when bad things happen, much of the suffering and the fear comes from not knowing why it is happening to me. But even when it comes to the good things happening, we also don't know why good things are happening to me. But because we like the good things, we don't ask. But this is the bigger picture. So when we can own all the good things in our lives, Laura, every single thing that's ever happened to you that is good, the people who've been loving and kind and generous and getting a job, don't take any of it for granted. That's the fruit of your incredible past practice, your incredible virtue, your non-killing, your non-stealing, your non-lying. It's fruiting like crazy in your life with all the good things that are happening to you. When we can own all the flowers and the veggies, and we can remember how hard we must have worked to get them, then we can fairly easily own the weeds and the hurt, the weeds and the problems. But when we just don't ever think of karma at all, then of course there'll be so much fear there. We're in charge, Laura, and there's no karma we can't change, sweetheart. That's the whole point. And that's why the purification practice is so powerful. And thank you, Laura, for asking, but this is everyone. We all understand. We all feel the same way, you know. It's because it's powerful stuff, because it's scary. It's scary initially because it's questioning the very fundamental assumptions we have. But the key thing again is when we suffer, but we have fear because we have ignorance. And this means anything. If you don't know what 1 + 2 is, when you're confronted with it, you'll have fear. It's ignorance that causes suffering, it's ignorance that causes suffering. So when we're in charge of things, and Buddha's point is it's all a natural law. It's a natural law. No one runs it. It's not punishment. It's not reward. No one's sneaking around running the show. There's no conspiracy theory. It is all the fruit of each of our actions. So the more we get in charge of this, the more we get in touch with this, the more we get courage, the more steady we can be, and the more we can guarantee that we will sow the right seeds and bring the right results. You know, that's the confidence that has to come. Thank you so much, Laura. So who else?
So the next question is Gabby M. Gabby,
you going to talk, Gabby? Is it? Where
Can you
are
hear me?
Looking for you. I've got to look for your green window. Oh, there she is. Go, Gabby. Talk to me, darling.
Okay. I want to ask you something. It's like because of this coronavirus crisis, I got two very good things in my life, and I feel kind of bad, kind of guilty, because I'm very happy now, and a lot of people is suffering, a lot of people, and it's like, for me, it's strange, you know.
So tell me why. So just explain a little bit more for us to understand what. So what?
Yeah.
Explain your life right now. Why is it good? It's wonderful. Why is it good?
I have been single for a long time, many years, and I got a boyfriend, and right now I got the opportunity to be with him, to meet him, because, you know, we have a lot of time, and it's great. And yeah, I got the money for a deposit that I really needed, because right now I really needed to get another place to live, and I didn't have the money for the deposit, but right now I got it.
So basically what you're saying is what you're saying is some good things are happening for you now, and you're feeling guilty because lots of people are having bad things. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
But okay. So, but that's life, isn't it? Even if it weren't the time of coronavirus, is that not the way the world is all the time? Sometimes people have good things happen, and sometimes other people have bad things happen. That's normal for life in general. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, but it's like.
But first of all, do you agree with that, Gabby? It's normal life, isn't it? We can see at any given moment in time, like 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 6 weeks ago, today, you're going to look at the world and you'll see some people suffer terribly and some people have happiness. You accept that? It's a truth, isn't it? So that's general life. So then you say, the next point is you now say, well, I feel guilty because some people suffer. So you should analyze that guilt. So let's do, as an analysis, let's talk about, what do you mean by guilty? Analyze it, speak it out. Everybody's the same, so it's good to discuss it. Unpack it, Gabby. What do you mean by guilty?
It's not guilty, it's more, I feel bad because I'm really happy.
Whether it's guilt or bad, I don't care. Explain it to us more in detail, and this is the point of the discussion. Explain what you mean by I feel bad. Why?
I feel bad because I shouldn't be so happy right now while other people are suffering.
So what do you mean by I should not be happy right now? Who's told you that? Why are you thinking that thought? Why are you saying I should not be happy right now? Why, Gabby? Why?
I think my Catholic background or something.
I don't care. I know, I understand all that, but keep unpacking it. I'm going to demand you answer me. Analyze it. What logic is there in thinking I should not be happy now? Where's the logic in that?
It's difficult to explain because I'm not sure. I'm not sure really.
Right, exactly. I know that. I know that. That's exactly right. But we want to understand it, don't we?
Yes.
You would like to understand it, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you?
Yes.
Okay, good. But the thing is, just because it's okay. So now, what do you have still your Catholic upbringing? What is your main view of the world right now? Do you like the Buddhist view, or do you have more the Christian view? Just so I know how to answer you. What's your view?
The Buddhist view. The Buddhist view.
Okay, good. So shall we look at the Buddhist explanation of why good things happening for you? I mean, already we've discussed it, but I'll spell it out for you. So that's where if you take the view, like I just said before, for Laura, exactly the same explanation, Gabby. It's exactly the same. At this moment in time, you're looking in your garden, which is your life, and you're seeing a few flowers and veggies, right? You agree? And other people, they've got lots of weeds in their garden. But like I said, there's nothing new about that. That's like all the time. So now, okay, let me ask you, before we go on, let me ask you another question. When you were feeling unhappy before, were you looking at all the people who are happy, and were you angry with them? Were you upset that they were happy? Did you feel jealous of them?
Yeah, Yes.
Okay, good. Very interesting point, isn't it? So this is a very interesting point, isn't it? That if other people are happy, when you're unhappy, you feel jealous. How come I'm not happy? And now when you're happy, you can't win, and now you're going to feel bad. So we're very stupid, aren't we? So if we take the view of karma, okay, if we take the Christian view, nothing wrong with it, then you would know that God made everybody. You would know that God is the boss. And if you have faith in God, then you know that the bad things happening are because God knows what's going on, and you accept the suffering, and you accept the suffering. And if you have good things happen, you take it as a gift from God and you thank him and you'll be happy. So either way, it's win-win. That's the Christian view. So what's the Buddha's view? The Buddha's view, Gabby, is whatever each of us experiences each moment, if it's called happy, this is the fruit of virtuous actions you have done in the past that are ripening at this second as your happy experiences, as having a nice friend, money coming into the bank. So that's the fruit of your past generosity, and that's the fruit of your past kindness, while you have a friend and you have money in the bank. That's it. Now, equally, one other person right now, exactly at this time, your next door neighbor, maybe her boyfriend has just left her and she doesn't get any money. So she's got the exact opposite experience. Well, the same thing. Why has her boyfriend just left her? That's due to some non-virtuous action in the past. And why has she suddenly got no money? Because that's due to her miserliness or her stealing from the past. So if we look into what is in our garden now and know we must have planted it, the point is, I'm getting at, and this is the point about guilt, when you know it's your garden. Okay, if you have a garden, Gabby, and you look at the beautiful flowers growing, you don't sit there feeling guilty about those flowers, do you? You never do that, do you? And why wouldn't you feel guilty about having flowers? And why would you feel bad for the people who don't have flowers? What would make you not, why do you not get guilty when you see other people with no flowers? Try and think about that. Why would you not feel guilty if you have flowers? Answer that first. Why would you not feel guilty if you have flowers?
Because it was my garden and I
There you go.
it.
You just said it. That's the point. That's the whole point, Gabby. You look in the garden, you don't go, oh, I feel so bad, I've got flowers and my next door neighbor hasn't. So the implication of that is that someone has given you flowers and you don't deserve it. And someone else should have flowers and they don't, and they do deserve. There's no logic like that here. If you have got flowers in your garden, honey, if you've got a boyfriend in your life, if you've got money in the bank, you created it. So rejoice in it. Be humble and rejoice, and don't just greedily grasp at it. Realize that you keep creating more causes. So keep being kind, keep being virtuous, keep not stealing, and it will continue to be growing in your garden. And feel compassion for the people who don't know botany and don't know how to grow their own happiness and don't know how to understand their own suffering. It changes your whole view, Gabby. Because guilt is no responsibility. Guilt is like a baby, you know? And it's really based on ego. Do you understand, darling?
Yes.
So
Thank you so much.
Rejoice in your happiness. Know it's impermanent, and be compassion for others, and continue to create the causes for more happiness. And then you'll want to help others as well. That's the approach, darling.
Thank you very much.
Good, Gabby. Thank you so much.
It's so nice to see you.
Good, darling. Yes.
Venerable Robina, there are some questions in the chat. So maybe it's people who can't unmute themselves.
Good. Okay, you should read them out.
Well, Chrissy Martindale's next, and I can see her waiting.
Oh, all right then. Thank you.
Yes, there we go.
There
you're on, Chrissy.
Okay. Hi, Venerable. My question is...
I want to see your picture. Wait, darling.
Oh, hello.
I'm looking for you. There you go, sweetie. I'm there. Go, talk to me.
Hi there. I'm wondering how I can put a simple purification practice into my daily practice. I seem to be complicating it at the moment, and yeah.
Well, darling, it's really, if we're taking all these teachings about karma, then purification is really practical, and think of it as like a very down-to-earth psychological process. Don't think of it as kind of heavy religion, you know. So at the end of the day, you sit down very comfortable with yourself. You're with Chrissy. I always think of this practice as like being our own friend, and we sort of take stock of where we're at, you know. So the 4 steps of purification, do you know this process or not?
You said last week, but I'm still not doing it yet.
No, that's where, so then we did it last week, so what's confusing about it then? Because if we did it last week, you already know. So why is it, you said, tell me a simple So why is it confusing?
Well, I guess why I've got confused since is I was reading some of what Lama Zopa was saying this last week, and he was saying if you can get a Vajrasattva lung, and I'm like, it's left me thinking, oh, there's obviously a lot more to it than what I'm.
Sorry, what, darling? If Lama Zopa said what?
It says if you can get a, I think he said Vajrasattva lung.
And you understand a lung meaning
around purification, and it's just left me thinking, oh, there's an awful lot to it.
I know, darling, but you don't have to. That's more advanced. You don't have to keep. You just keep it simple. There's more, and all of these things. There's a basic, simple, fundamental approach to it, and then there's deeper levels of it as we progress. So don't worry about that, Chrissy. Just try to get the essence of these 4 steps: regretting the rubbish you've said and done because you're sick of suffering, having compassion, doing a few mantras, and making a decision to try to change. That's the very essence of it, sweetheart, and it's very powerful psychologically. So sit with yourself and keep it very simple. And if you want me to, have you got anything written down for this practice?
No, not yet.
You could email me, or I can give it to, how can we put things, Rona or Moya, can we put something online, people can download it? Can we do that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll do that, Rona. I'll put a simple a purification practice with the explanations about karma and a simple way to do the practice, Chrissy, and just keep it simple, darling. Get the fundamentals clear. Then as like in any simple technique, as you progress, you can add complicated levels to it, but start at the basics and try to understand psychologically the benefit of these 4 steps.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Thank you very much. I do, yeah. Thank you.
So if anyone's interested in receiving that, if they email info@jamyang.co.uk, we'll send it to you.
Okay, good. All right. So who else wants to ask me some questions?
The next one is Rashid Nuza. Rashid.
You speak Rashid, or is it you're speaking for him?
I'm speaking. I'm hoping he'll come on.
All right.
Hang on.
Hello, Maria. I can see you, Maria, in Miami. There you go, darling.
Yes.
Lynn, I can see you, Lynn, in Miami. Stina, I can see Stina. Ruth. Go on. I'm looking at all your people. Go on, talk to me.
Trying to unmute Rashid. It's not working.
He can unmute himself, can't he?
Yes, I hope so. Rashid, can you try and unmute yourself?
Where are you, darling? Where you are, Rashid? I usually see a green window. When you start to talk, I see a green window, but I can't see it. Oh, we're all clapping at 8 o'clock. Okay. It's 8 o'clock in London and we're all clapping for the NHS. And here we are also, we're clapping for the Americans and the Australians and the Italians and the Greeks and everybody on the planet. So go out and you're going to, oh, the English are going out to their balconies and their windows. Okay. Can you see them all? This is wonderful. Good.
Yep. So I've got
look at this little D opening her curtain. And she's going out to shout hello to the NHS. So Afisha, and this is including Afisha in Boston, for going out and feeding people. Well done, Afisha. Amazing. We'll do some medicine Buddhists from all of them. Ta ta om bekenze maha bekenze ranza samangate svaha ta ta om bekenze maha bekenze ranza samangate svaha ta ta om bekenze maha bekenze ranza samangate svaha ta ta om bekenze maha bekenze ranza samangate svaha ta ta om bekenze maha bekenze ranza samangate svaha. All the blessings of the medicine Buddha on everybody. Amazing. And I can see you too, Olya. First time I've seen your face, Olya. Well done. There's Olya Lewis in Florida. There you go, darling. I can see you. Okay, so now questions, more questions. What happened to Rashid? He didn't have his question. Rashid, I can't unmute. Oh dear. Can you unmute him, please, Rona? Rona's gone. Moya. Moya's gone. Rona, where you gone? Rona's gone. Moya's gone. From Lauren Ross to everyone, from Rashid. Okay, what happened to Lauren Ross? In case of a physical, Rashid, I can't see it. Oh, here we go. I got it, Rashid. Okay. So this is from Lauren. Okay, from Rashid. Is karma only connected to the false notion of believing in an ego self? Thank you. Can't unmute my mic. Sorry. This is 2 things from Rashid. Okay, wait a minute. in case of a physical discomfort or pain, can you please suggest a technique of breathing exercise to drive the attention to the physical? I mean, yeah, there's two things here. First of all, Rashid's question about karma. Is karma only connected to the false notion of it in an ego self? Absolutely. First, so to hear that, absolutely, the point is yes, there's no question. And that's hard to understand if we don't really get this view very clear. But the Buddha's point is that all this suffering we have, all the attachment, the anger, the jealousy, all the dramas, even the creating of karma, it's all contingent upon the primordial assumption deep in the bones of our being that there's a real, definite, pointable, concrete, absolute, permanent me. Now, of course, this sounds abstract to us because this is the normal way the world thinks. So it's really hard to hear it. But yes, there's no question. So from the first second you begin to cut that root of the self-existent me, everything starts to change radically. You know, there's no question about that. Yes. So Rashid's second point, in case of physical discomfort or pain, can you please suggest a technique or breathing exercise to drive the attention from the physical consciousness? Well, I mean, actually, you just really indicated it yourself, you know. I mean, without being too technical, for example, I think this is what we all can do. We know how to do this. So when I used to do Kung Fu, okay, when I did martial arts, and Mr. Lee would get us to do our push-ups on our knuckles, okay? So we would be doing our push-ups on our knuckles and we get to 10 and we're exhausted and you keep pushing. It's only the body, he'd say, and we get to 20 and we get to 30 and you think you are dying. So what made us persevere and what made us feel confident was we were focusing on achieving the goal of doing our push-ups. So that was the pain became secondary. Everybody knows that experience. We know that that's possible. It's not easy when you're dying with agony and you're terrible physical pain. But the thing that really is important to comprehend, Rashid, and once we know this, we can create any technique we like. There's no magic. It depends on what we decide to focus on. And I think these days in the medical profession, there are wonderful people with wonderful techniques exactly like this, helping people learn to find new ways to deal with their pain by literally doing that, learning to focus on something else, because that's the point. The more the mind focuses on one thing, the more it will loom large in our mind. So the point is it's theoretically possible. And even in our ordinary daily experiences, we can see this is true, you know. I mean, you have the other extreme of, say, experiences of, I always think about mothers, right? I remember watching a video years ago about the really extreme things mothers would do when their child was suffering. I mean, somebody, you know, a mother picking up a car, a mother running into a burning house. For her at that moment, because she was so totally focused on the suffering of her child, she wouldn't even have noticed the pain. So this is the point. We can do it. So when you understand that, you can make up your own technique, Rashid. There's nothing magic in watching your breath. It's just we can all know, but the more we focus on one thing, the more that becomes what we think about. We learn to focus on something else, it diminishes the other one. We all understand this. So with that in mind, you can create your own technique, Rashid. And like I said, in the Western world now, many people have these wonderful ways of learning to be skillful with navigating our pain. And they're using techniques like this, you know, something magic. It's understanding the way our mind functions, you know. So what else, people? Anybody else have questions for me? Catherine, Jenny, Amber, Adam, Alejandra, Ruth, Glennis. So listen, then maybe I'll begin to talk before and I'll do it now then. You know, we're talking about all the methods that we can use. We're talking about the wisdom wing, always the wisdom wing, the nuts and bolts of the way our mind works and how things happen. But if we look at the compassion wing, of course, if you're seeing all the advice coming from Lama Zopa Rinpoche right now, he, of course, being who he is, he never stops only talking about the compassion wing. Okay, there's another person coming here, Rashid again.
Yeah, Paul.
Another question from Rashid. Oh, no, it's another question from someone else. I'll answer that in a minute, okay? I'll answer that in a minute, okay? So now, let's look at the compassion one, because this is really hard. I mean, this is where, you know, we can see it with some people. You read, like I said, when I was talking to Afisha, reading these lovely stories about people getting out there and helping others. I mean, this is exactly the point. Some people know they're suffering themselves. They look at the world and they see the world is suffering, but they are compelled to go out and do something to help others. I mean, companies who are like, a restaurant in Melbourne cooking for all the doctors, one person, one lady who's a sewer on her machine making masks. So we can see really it's a powerful technique. But what I think is interesting, a powerful method to be of benefit to others, it always sounds very grand and rather high, especially if we're suffering ourselves, to think of others. What about me, we think. But the interesting point is this. When we're overwhelmed with our own fears and our own anger and our own attachment and our own depression, we are totally miserable. We can't see another human being and we just drown in misery. But the interesting point is, look at the benefit to ourselves. Don't underestimate this. Look at the benefit to ourselves of helping others. As soon as you reach out beyond yourself, you forget about yourself. The second you reach out beyond and you help others and you see their gratitude, you see their happiness, it gives us such pleasure. Don't ever discount that. Don't ever underestimate that. Never feel guilty about that. That is so profound, As His Holiness said one time, if you want to help others, practice compassion. If you want to help yourself, practice compassion. It's a powerful method for ourselves. Don't underestimate that. It's amazing because the second, and this is the whole point about focus, and this is about focusing on pain. The moment I focus on someone else, I'm forgetting about me. The moment I focus only on me, I can't see anybody else. Of course, we've got to use wisdom and be careful, but it's so logical, So these meditations, so doing meditations on compassion, are incredibly powerful. And all Rinpoche talks about is that these days, So we do what we can, all of us. So there's another question. I'm finding it hard to not be angry with people who are not observing the lockdown and going out and meeting their friends and inviting them to their houses without maintaining the social distancing. I feel this is risky behavior, but how can I develop equanimity in this situation? Well, darling, look at the universe. I agree with you. It's totally correct. But if you forget this situation, this is like my point before, to Gabby. It's not just now that people are happy and people are suffering. So, it's not just now that people aren't doing the right thing. The world is full of people doing the wrong thing all the time. So the point is this, whoever's asking me that question, Ruth. It's Ruth, darling. No, not Ruth.
It's I think it's both of us, actually.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It
well,
is.
This is the whole practice. The world is full of people who are mean and nasty and doing bad things. Of course it is. Why is it so surprising to us? So what we've got to do is look into our mind and what it is in our mind that makes us angry about someone else doing naughty things, because our attachment isn't getting what it wants. So the point is here, it's very tricky because you are correct in what you're saying. There are people out there being very inappropriate and harming others. You are absolutely correct. That's a fact. That never changes. That fact doesn't change. So as your question implies, then we have to look into what it is in ourselves that interprets that action. So you've seen the action, you've interpreted it's not appropriate. But what we are doing, like what you're saying, what we all do is we added anger to it. So what is anger? Your anger is your ego, which is the result of your attachment not getting what it wants. So when we can see that and separate that from the fact that you're right and seeing virtuous approach to life, you're right in what you're saying. But anger just makes it worse. So that's when we understand the logic of that, that's what our day-to-day practice is. The fact is, and if you can do something to change it, then please change it. If you can help people see the truth and help people become more wise, fantastic. But if you can't, anger just makes it worse. In other words, the way I put it is, it's bad enough to have the world be having troubles like what you're seeing right now, but why be angry as well? It just makes it worse. And that's our internal practice. Of course, it's hard. It's a very perfect question.
Thank you. I understand.
Good, darling. So here Amber says, I'm an ICU nurse and I'm about to go back into practice. I was wondering if there was any prayers. For sure, darling. I think it's really, if you like, but the medicine Buddha practice is very powerful. Or even, these also Tara, His Holiness Dalai Lama said Tara is a really good practice. Do you know that practice, Amber? You must.
Oh, am I there?
Yes, you are.
Hi.
You'd know the practice, wouldn't you?
Yes, I do the Tara practice myself like every day, but I haven't been nursing since I sort of became Buddhist. I wasn't sure if there was something I could do like at the time if that makes sense. But the Tara practice at the
You
time.
know, Tara's very powerful, darling, because what she represents is confidence, courage, wisdom, and action mixed with compassion. So that's exactly what you want now. That's exactly what you want, Amber. And imagine the Tara's in you and blessing you to do the right thing and say the right thing, but also to protect you and others. You couldn't wish for better, sweetheart.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
wonderful you're going to help them. It's wonderful you're doing that. Well done. Good, darling. What else, people? I haven't got my clock on. Oh, there it is. Anybody else? Questions, people? Masha, nothing from you. Linda, Christine, Laura, Charlotte, Rebecca, Sonia, Frederica, Keith, Marianne, Charlotte. Okay, what's questions here? Here's more. Here's some more. More. Okay. Where?
Here's one from Matt.
Oh, here's Lynn. No. Okay. No, Lynn, Ruth, Matt. So go on. But I'm looking at all the questions here. Lynn, Mika, is it there? Masha. Okay. Rashid, Gabby, Ron, Rona, Chrissy, Rashid. What else is there?
Okay, Matt, I think you can ask the question now. Matt?
Go, Matt.
You're unmuted. Hello?
Where are you, Matt?
Oh, don't have a mic or a camera, he says. So I'll read it out. Can you see the question?
Okay, good. Go on. No, you read it out to me and everyone can hear it.
Okay, I don't really want any material things apart from the basics, but due to this, I don't have anything, so I suffer. How do I deal with this? Because I'm always chasing the money, but never getting any, because I don't really want it anyway. And I'm stuck in an endless cycle.
Oh, Matt, I understand, darling. So maybe, I mean, on the one hand, what I'm hearing is you're very humble, you don't want much, you're trying to be renounced, and that's a marvelous quality, you know, but on the other hand, you do need money to survive and you're struggling, you don't get it. So it's a bit sort of a contradiction inside your own head. So maybe, I mean, it's not necessarily that easy, but, you know, it's like, if you can, I mean, the thing is to not want much for yourself is really fantastic. But then on the other hand, open up your heart and have kind of cultivate like a generous attitude, a thought, well, if I had some money, I could feed myself and I could be of use to others, because money is just a label we use for a certain energy. I mean, we don't use rice and cows in bartering anymore. We use a piece of paper with a number in the corner. So don't see it as something ugly and horrible. Don't resist it, because that blocks you. Recognize you don't need much yourself, which is marvelous, but want to have some, want to get a job and want to make a bit of money, and then you can use it for something good. To develop, start in your mind and develop a sort of more generous attitude. If I did have some, I could be useful. I could help others. I mean, that's a good attitude, and that can kind of block this other part of you. I'm not sure, Matt, if that makes any sense, but that's what I'd suggest to you. And be generous with whatever you do have, even if you haven't got much. Think of wanting to give, you know, even if you give 5p, you know, whatever it is you've got, think of wanting to give. Don't just think of not having, and don't think of not wanting. That kind of blocks, but sort of try and develop a generous attitude first in your mind. That's very powerful, but for an altruistic reason, not for a self-centered reason. You don't need to be that, because money in its nature is not good or bad. It's what you do with it, isn't it? It's like everything. I don't know if that helps, Matt. So what else?
And Mazia Ottenheim, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good, Masha, talk to me, darling.
Yeah, I was just writing the question, but my last year I was much more inside than ever before. I mean, that's how it feels. And it's a little bit uncomfortable for me because I'm always focused on the outside, but now I'm trying to find like a middle thing. My question is it sometimes good to be a little bit more focused on the inside for a while?
Of course it is. It's the two wings of the bird. I mean, using the kind of classic Buddhist approach, the wisdom wing, working on your own mind, working on understanding yourself, that's the retreat mode. That really classically would be where you give up sex, drugs, and rock and roll and go to the mountains and do some serious meditation. That's the inside mode, Masha, and that is necessary in order to do the outside properly. I mean, that's the discussion you and I have been having all this time. That's exactly right. We all rush out and try to help the world, and you've got some karma to help people. We rush out like fools sometimes and make a mess because we haven't done enough of the inner work. So we can do both jobs together. We have to have the wisdom wing and the compassion wing together. But sometimes we need to do more focus on the internal, and then you're more qualified, and then you go out and you can do better work. So it's up to each of us at different times to know what is necessary. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Good. Fantastic. Keep moving, darling. Pierre, can you please talk about, where's Pierre? Pierre says, the emptiness of the COVID-19. Oh, I don't know. It seems when something is functioning or active or potent, and then it feels more real. It's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It does. I know. So this is a really tough one right now. I think I'm not so sure I want to talk about it. Pierre, it's a good question. The point is, where are you, Pierre?
Hello.
I mean, when things are really powerful, when things are really dramatic and we're all grasping at things and having a lot of fear and worries, if we have got the ability to understand the emptiness of it, this is a very powerful antidote. But you're absolutely right. When things are feeling very real, thinking about the dependent arising of it and thinking about the emptiness of it is a very powerful technique. But sometimes it can be so theoretical, it doesn't help us. And then we get all nihilistic, you know. So this is why, I mean, for me, when I think about, if you think about karma, karma is the law of cause and effect. Well, the law of cause and effect is the first level of the understanding of dependent arising. And by thinking about karma is thinking about cause and effect, which is thinking about dependent arising, which helps you understand the emptiness of COVID-19. It's a powerful way of applying emptiness. Are you seeing my point?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Don't go to the highest levels of it. When we understand the causes of something, when we realize that we're suffering, this is what is hard to see. Like I said, this analogy for me is this. You've got this big garden outside and you've never heard of botany. And I really mean it, especially if you're living in the tropics where things grow rampantly and they start crawling under your house and in your windows and in your roof, and you've never heard of botany. You don't know what to do. You don't know why these things are growing. You don't know why everything is collapsing. Are you seeing my point here, Pierre? If you
the randomness of it.
Or botany in your whole life, things just happen and you don't know why. That's why you have fear. But if you know botany and you know how to explain what's happening, as soon as you have an explanation, even if the thing is taken over your house, you know why and you know the antidotes. That's applying dependent arising. Dependent arising, the first level is cause and effect. Don't make it too higher than that. That's profound. You see my point?
It's quite reassuring, like to at least to understand the frame in which things are happening. Yeah, yeah. I see. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Pierre. Very good point. So people, hour and a half has gone already, almost 10 minutes. So we could do another meditation if you want. What do you think, people? A little meditation.
Yeah, sounds good.
What did we do last week, Moya? Was she there still, Moya? No. What did we do last week?
Yeah, we finished off with one, yeah.
What did we do? Anybody remember?
Vajrasattva.
Was it? Okay, thanks, Mary. Okay.
Yeah, we recited the mantra, that's right.
Okay, good. All right, good. So why don't we just do then a little bit of Medicine Buddha? Nothing wrong right now. Medicine Buddha is wonderful. So just relax, you know, just be very natural, very normal. Just sit, close your eyes, and just be very natural. Nothing, we're doing something special and holy. And if we can have any idea what the medicine, so the idea of a Buddha is just all this perfect, enlightened, compassionate, wise, powerful energy. Think like that. So just imagine it's manifesting in front, in this embodied in front, looking like the Buddha, as we see the classic Buddha, but he's blue, dark blue. And he's sitting in the full lotus position on a lotus, just like the Buddha, and he's holding his begging bowl. And just think his begging bowl is full of medicine. And the medicine is all the Buddha's techniques that can heal everything. Thinking this way, you know. And he's very blissful, very radiant face, very beautiful. He's just like the Buddha, but he's dark blue. And he's sitting in the sky on this lotus. And we imagine as the you know, and then so we just think we're going to imagine from his heart, pouring out, it's very simple, pouring out from his heart light, powerful healing light that enters into, first of all, into each one of us. Think this first. Enters into each one of us and it completely fills us. Imagine full of this radiant light, and this radiant light is completely healing. Imagine this, blissfully healing all the karmic seeds that we've ever planted that have harmed sentient beings from harming sentient beings in the past, which are the cause of any suffering we're having now. So imagine all these seeds, this light is putting like an atomic bomb under all these seeds, and it's completely purifying all the causes of suffering, and it's completely purifying our present suffering, and it's completely purifying our body, making our body radiant and light, full of this amazing radiant light pouring from the heart of the medicine Buddha. And if you've got a guru, you think the medicine Buddha is your guru, specially manifesting as the medicine Buddha for your personal benefit. So it's like he's sending it with such love, such compassion, this powerful light, just completely purifying and blessing us. So first of all, imagining all of this as we sing a few of the mantras first. Taya ta om bekanze, bekanze maha bekanze, ranza samungate svaha. Taya ta om bekanze, bekanze maha bekanze, bekanze, ranza samungate svaha. Taya ta om bekanze, bekanze maha bekanze, bekanze, ranza samungate svaha. Taya ta om bekanze, bekanze maha bekanze, bekanze, ranza samungate svaha. Taya ta om bekanze, bekanze maha bekanze, bekanze, ranza samungate svaha. Full of this blissful light, completely healed, completely purified. How amazing. So now imagine the entire universe. All the friends, all the enemies, and all the strangers, and all the suffering beings, and all the realms of existence. So imagine the whole of the world is instantly full of all of them. And they're all in the form of human beings, which is the form they can all get enlightened in. So try and imagine the countless suffering sentient beings. Trillions upon trillions, above you, behind you, in front of you, below you, to the sides, completely filling the universe. All as humans, imagine. And think that they are exactly the same as us. They absolutely want happiness every second. They absolutely cannot bear a moment of suffering. And like all of us, they all believe it all comes from the outside. They all believe it's not their fault. They all don't know why they're suffering. And this is why we have so much fear. This is why we suffer so stupendously. So imagine now the medicine Buddha again above, sending light out from in all directions from his heart, powerful laser beams of this amazing light, entering into every single enemy, every single friend, every single stranger, the whole of the universe, pouring into their hearts, every single one, purifying, first of all, their sickness right now, their pain, their suffering, their sickness, totally purifying, totally giving them, taking away all the suffering right now, full of light, all of them, imagine. And they're relieved of this present suffering. You can't imagine how happy they are. Imagine this first. And not only that, this light purifies also for each of them every single action in the past that they've ever done since beginningless time of harming other sentient beings that is the cause of their present suffering. So all of these karmic seeds annihilated by this radiant light filling them, all their negative karma completely purified, full of this blissful white light. Imagine, and they're so happy, free of suffering and its causes. Taya taum bekanze bekanze, maha bekanze bekanze, ranza samungate swaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze, maha bekanze bekanze, ranza samungate swaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze, maha bekanze bekanze, ranza samungate swaha. Taya ta om bekanze bekanze, maha bekanze bekanze, ranza samungate svaha. Taya ta om bekanze bekanze, maha bekanze bekanze, ranza samungate svaha. So now you imagine Medicine Buddha. From his heart, trillions of tiny Medicine Buddhas go out. Trillions and trillions of Medicine Buddhas go out from his heart, entering into the heart of every single sentient being and transforming every single one of them into their own Medicine Buddha, manifesting their perfect potential, just like ours, and including us into our hearts, transforming us into our Buddha. Perfect qualities of perfect wisdom, perfect compassion, and infinite power to be of benefit to others, the natural potential of every single one of us. So imagine every one of us manifesting like the Medicine Buddha. Tiny Medicine Buddhas going out from the Medicine Buddha into all our hearts, transforming us into our true nature. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate swaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate swaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate swaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate swaha. Taya ta om bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate swaha. All right, everybody. So I think we can also finish with this wonderful aspiration, this amazing aspiration called the 4 immeasurable thoughts, this courageous attitude of the bodhisattvas. And no matter how fearful we are now, no matter how much anxiety we have, and we all do, how much depression or anger or jealousy, whatever we're having, let's plug into this, let's activate this amazing, powerful aspect of us that's there. So by reciting and having this aspiration confidently, like the brave bodhisattvas who say, you know, the bodhisattvas have this courageous attitude. If I don't help sentient beings, who will? If I will do it by myself alone. This is the attitude we try to cultivate. Even if we're not ready for it now, we sow the seeds for this, you know. So we can become like Dalai Lama, like Lama Zopa, like all our holy gurus who are already this, showing us how to be. So imagine, we think now, we finish with this thought. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings could abide in equanimity, attachment, and anger. May they abide so. I will make this happen. Please, Guru Medicine Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings could be free of suffering and its causes. May they be free. I will make this happen. Please, Guru Medicine Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings could have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they have them. I will make this happen. Please, Guru Medicine Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were never parted from higher rebirths and liberation's excellent bliss. May they never be parted. I will make this happen. Please, Guru Medicine Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. Okay, people, have courage, every one of us, accepting change, accepting the suffering and having courage and never giving up, that's it. And penetrating the fears with wisdom. Wisdom is the key to success. And wisdom means understanding things. It's not mysterious. Be brave and never give up, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody. All you people. I can't say all your names. There's so many of you. Matt and Trin and Lil and Charity and Rashid and Matt and Laura and Brian and Trin and Marianne and Margaret and Keith.
Thank you. Thank you, Robina.
Thank you, Robina, so much.
Thank you,
Next week.
Robina.
Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you, Robina. Thank you.
Keep well. See you next week.
Thank you, Robina.
Venerable Robina.
Thank you so much.
See you next week.
Stay safe.
Good girl.
Bye.
Ano?
We're finished, Crystal.
Bye. See you next time. Bye.
Don't do leave.
Bye, everyone.